Their jaws glowed green in the dark. That's not a metaphor. The phosphorus they worked with literally made their bones luminescent as it ate through their faces. They were teenage girls making matches in London, earning pennies, dying slowly. In 1888, 1,400 of them walked out. They had no money, no union, no power. They won in 2 weeks, and they changed workers' rights for every human being who came after them. Hey, and on Forgotten Trades, we dig into the jobs that history forgot, the people who did them, and the stories that actually shaped the world we live in today. In this video, you'll learn how teenage girls dipping matches into white phosphorus ended up sparking one of the most important labor movements in history. We'll walk through what daily life looked like inside the Bryant and May factory in Victorian London. 14-hour shifts, crushing fines, and a disease that literally made your jaw glow as it rotted off your face. You'll see how one journalist's article turned invisible workers into a national scandal, how the Match Girls' strike 1888 unfolded with zero resources and maximum courage, and why this 2-week walkout became the spark that lit the fuse for workers' rights across the entire industrialized world. Stay for point 4. It's the moment everything changed, and it happened faster than anyone expected. Let's start inside the Bryant and May match factory in London's East End around 1888. Picture rows of teenage girls, some as young as 13, standing at wooden benches for 14 hours straight. Their job was simple: dip wooden sticks into a mixture containing white phosphorus, then pack the matches into boxes. The pay was around 4 shillings a week, barely enough to survive. But here's the thing: the factory didn't just underpay them, it fined them. Talk while you work? Fine. Your workbench looks dirty? Fine. You're 2 minutes late? Fine. Every penny got deducted from an already brutal wage, and there was nothing they could do about it. The white phosphorus itself was the real nightmare. It was cheap, it made matches light easily, and it was extremely toxic. When you breathed in phosphorus fumes day after day, it started to accumulate in your jawbone. That's when Phossy jaw set in, a condition where your jaw literally began to rot from the inside. The bone would necrotize, your face would swell, abscesses would form, and in the final stages, the decaying bone would glow green in the dark. That's not folklore. It's documented medical fact. Many girls had their jaws surgically removed. Many others died from the infection or the shock. Now here's where the story shifts. In June 1888, a journalist named Annie Besant interviewed some of these workers and published an article called "White Slavery in London." She laid out everything: the fines, the 14-hour days, the Phossy jaw cases the company tried to hide, the wages so low that girls were fainting from hunger at their benches. The article exploded. Middle-class Londoners had no idea this was happening in their own city. Bryant and May tried to force their workers to sign a statement saying Besant's article was full of lies. The workers refused. That refusal was the beginning. One girl was fired for refusing to sign. The others walked out in solidarity. Keep in mind, these were not skilled tradespeople. They had no union, no strike fund, no legal protection. Walking out meant risking everything. But 1,400 of them did it anyway. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between staying silent and losing everything? That's the choice they made, and they chose to fight. So here's what happened during those 2 weeks in July 1888. the match girls walked out and immediately became a public spectacle. They marched through London. They held meetings. Newspapers covered them. The public started donating money. Small amounts, but enough to keep them fed. Meanwhile, Bryant and May was hemorrhaging reputation. Orders were delayed. Investors got nervous. The company was used to controlling workers in silence, but this was loud, visible, and humiliating. The girls had 3 demands: end the unfair fines, improve working conditions, and stop using white phosphorus. Bryant and May folded in less than 2 weeks. They agreed to nearly everything. No more arbitrary fines, better pay, a grievance process. It was one of the fastest victories in labor history, and it happened because the workers had nothing left to lose, and the public refused to look away. That's point 3 of 5, and we're just getting to the part that rippled outward for the next century. Here's what makes the Match Girls' Strike 1888 so pivotal. Before this, unions in Britain were mostly for skilled workers: engineers, carpenters, printers. If you were unskilled, poor, or female, you were considered unorganizable. The Match Girls proved that was wrong. Their victory inspired a wave of strikes among dock workers, gas workers, and other low-wage laborers. This became known as New Unionism, a movement that brought collective bargaining to millions of people who had been invisible. Within a year, the London dock strike of 1889 succeeded using the same playbook: public sympathy, media coverage, and workers who refused to back down. Within a decade, labor laws started changing across Europe. The Match Girls didn't just win better conditions for themselves, they lit a fuse that burned through the entire system. Their jaws glowed in the dark, and in a very real sense, they illuminated the path forward for every worker who came after them. Let's close the loop on the phosphorus itself. Even after the strike, white phosphorus matches were still legal in Britain for years. It wasn't until 1910, over 2 decades later, that international pressure finally led to bans in most industrialized countries. By then, hundreds, maybe thousands of workers had suffered from Phossy jaw. The Match Girls didn't end the use of white phosphorus overnight, but their strike put the issue in the public eye and kept it there. The horror of what happened to them became part of the argument for safer labor laws, workplace health regulations, and the idea that profit should never come at the cost of a worker's body. Important reminder: the conditions described here reflect a specific historical period and were widely condemned even at the time by reformers and labor advocates. This video covers documented labor history and the social movements that emerged in response. So let's bring it all together. The Match Girls' Strike 1888 wasn't just about matches. It was about power, visibility, and what happens when people who've been told they don't matter decide they do. Teenage girls working brutal shifts, dipping sticks into poison, watched their own bones glow green from Phossy jaw. They were fined for talking, fined for being late, fined for existing. Annie Besant published the truth. 1,400 workers walked out with no money, no union, and no guarantee of anything. They won in 2 weeks. That victory sparked the New Unionism movement, which brought collective bargaining to millions of unskilled workers across Britain and beyond. Their jaws glowed in the dark, and they used that light to show the world what exploitation looked like. Every labor law, every workplace safety rule, every right you have as a worker today stands on the shoulders of people like them. They were match girls. They were written off, and they changed everything. If this story hit you the way it hit me, subscribe to Forgotten Trades. We're covering the jobs, the people, and the moments that shaped the world but got left out of the history books. Drop a comment and let me know. Had you ever heard of the Match Girls' Strike before this video? And if you want to keep going, the next video dives even deeper into another piece of labor history that deserves to be remembered. I'll see you there.